Hi there, and thank you for joining us on the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. We feature those who are in the process of overcoming or have overcome any type of life encounter, life obstacle that at the time seemed to be almost insurmountable. With this podcast, we have three objectives in mind. Our first objective is we want you to know with a confident resolve you are not alone. We want to work with you. We want you to know there are others who are working with you, who want to help you through whatever you are encountering, and together we will get through whatever you're experiencing.
Our second objective is there are multiple options for any life encounter you are facing. We want to help you develop a resolve that there are various options and solutions to any life dilemma.
Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you're encountering something that was possibly a decision you made sometime in the past, and if you had the opportunity for a life redo, you would make a different decision. We want to help you with those critical thinking skills that can help you make an informed decision and not encounter what you're going through at the moment. We are the Cooper Culture, a veteran-owned business. We work with business personnel and families to develop and sustain connected relationship cultures within their families and organizations. That type organization is one where people feel wanted, appreciated, and genuinely a part of that organization. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty, who has helped me facilitate this podcast. Today we feature Paul Voss, who discusses with us his life story and learning of having two autistic children. His son, by his expression, was ADHD, and was, meaning that he has largely overcome that. His daughter is more severely autistic at level 3 by his description and is nonverbal. Through each of them, they have learned a lot about a holistic approach to helping them each overcome their neurodiversity. He feels his son is largely overcome. His daughter is a 6-year-old at this point of life, but is growing through this. She was not born neurodiverse, as he explains, but incurred her neurodiversity through COVID. Marty, what are some takeaways our listeners can learn from Paul's life experience?
I'm so happy that Paul wrote the book because there are so many parents going through what Paul and his wife have gone through. And even though each autistic child is not the same, just a little bit of help. I think the holistic part is a very big help to the gut-brain process of children. And gut-brain in us. Everybody says eat right. So I'm glad he wrote the book. I'm glad he came on the podcast so that other parents can hear this and know that the one thing, there is hope, and to support and praise the victories, whatever, big or small, whatever they are.
Let's listen and learn together through Paul's life experience. What a great opportunity to learn. Paul, it's great to have you with us. Our listeners are going to be very interested in learning about your life experience. You are the father of 8 children, 2 of whom are neurodiverse, one by your description more diverse than the other. We'll let you explain to whatever level of detail you want about that. But our listeners are very interested in learning how to work with, adapt to those who are neurodiverse. And can the brain be changed to get out of the condition they're in, or is that a semi-permanent condition? And employment and so forth. Paul, a lot of things that our listeners are interested in, but perhaps you can describe, maybe just to get us started, your 2 children who are neurodiverse, and then some of the things you have learned through your life experiences.
Sure. And As you mentioned, I'm a father of 8 children. I have 5 girls and 3 boys. My second oldest was diagnosed with ADHD a couple years ago, probably about 8 now. And then when we had our 8th child, um, around the age of 2.5, she was diagnosed with level 3 or profound autism. Um, very different experiences. Admittedly, I knew nothing about autism really prior to the diagnosis. I was very ignorant about what autism was or wasn't. Um, I meant that, speaking and later learned speaking. Um, that really sent me on a journey to heal her, because what we did know is that she wasn't born that way. So January of 2022, COVID hit our house, and it impacted me and my wife pretty bad. My 7 older children, they were sick for like 24 hours. So very different experience. But then my youngest, we started to see this regression in sleep where she would she wouldn't go to sleep, first of all. We couldn't get her to bed until sometimes 10 or 11 at night. And then she would wake up every 2 hours, and it would take us 45 minutes to an hour to even get her to go back to sleep. So that started us, we thought, okay, something's off. We thought it was due to COVID. And then we just saw things progressively get worse. The words she had went away. And by that summer, we started speech therapy. The very first speech therapy meeting, the therapist said, "Have you considered having her tested for autism?" And that really sent us on our path of getting her diagnosed. Um, with my son, I know you mentioned like what my thoughts are on like the brain in general and healing. Our goal for both our son and daughter was to heal them completely. Again, with my daughter, I mentioned we knew she wasn't born that way, something we believe caused autism. And so it sent us on a journey. One of the things we did do pretty quickly was change our diet as a family. So we went gluten-free and dairy-free as a family, really with the goal of helping our daughter. And what it actually did, my son no longer has any symptoms of ADHD. He's no longer getting any accommodations at school, and he's an honor student now. And that was a drastic change for us, just because we went the standard Western medical route with him the first time, and we actually did Adderall. Within a week of him being on Adderall, he started talking about suicide. And we had a meeting it was on a Saturday. I'll never forget. I think he was fighting with his brothers. So I probably sent him to his room, and he, was upset, but then he mentioned suicide. He had never mentioned it before. We reached out to his pediatrician. We got on a Zoom meeting with her, and she said to pull him off of it immediately. After that call ended, I just started researching Adderall and was, I'll say, blown away that suicide is a side effect of Adderall. And there's a lot of stories out there of kids being on these drugs and taking their life. That was never mentioned to us. So we tried to manage it ourselves after that, but didn't have a lot of success. But ironically, the diet changes we made to help our daughter had a profound impact, not only on my daughter, but I would say on the health of our whole family, first of all, but had a major impact on my son. So it goes back to the fact that where I believe that the brain can be healed, and our goal is to reverse autism.
Wow, that's a great statement. I will tell you, Paul, Marty, and I are studying the gut brain interconnect. And we are learning through a lot of different people who maybe call it trial and error or whatever it may be, who are experiencing a lot of what you just described. Now, I'm curious. Okay, is your son from his ADHD, would you say he is totally cured of that? In other words, can he focus more than just a couple of minutes on any given project type thing?
He can, and I'll tell you what amazes me about the change. Um, I'm an early riser. I get up at 5 a.m. He also is an early riser, and I'll see him in the kitchen having coffee, doing homework studying and like just that discipline. That was not him prior. So I see it firsthand. I would say there's really no symptoms at all anymore. We decided 2 years ago to take him off all of his accommodations at school and would just see how he does. And, again, he's been an honor student ever since and really no issues at all. He's going into his junior year next year, and we haven't seen any indication of any symptoms there, like loss of focus or anything.
Wow, that is extremely encouraging. That I am so glad to hear about that.
But you were saying your daughter was not born with autism, and how do you know that? And what do you think caused the autism?
Yeah. I think it was a series of things in her case. We believe she wasn't born with autism just because she was hitting all of the milestones and progressing until COVID hit our house. And then that's when it seemed to really just overwhelm her body. We did do testing after the diagnosis, and we did find out she has what's called an MTHFR genetic mutation. And what that really means is her body has a hard time processing chemicals out the way maybe mine does. So there's stories from parents who get maybe a shot and then see an immediate regression. There's a lot of other stories like that. My daughter's case, I think it was just an overwhelming amount of just toxins. I mean, there's so many toxins in our environment. I will tell you, like the things that are in vaccines, her body has a harder time getting those out the way mine does. We never saw like an immediate decline after her getting her normal shots. But I think it was just a collection of everything. And we feel like maybe COVID was like what finally broke it for her, and her body just couldn't get everything out. So we've changed a lot of things around our house. Things I never thought we would do, like changing what we clean with, what we feed them, just everything. Because when you do start researching, it can be a little depressing because there's just toxins in our water, everything. But that's why we believe she wasn't born that way, just because she was hitting the milestones, and then we saw that regression really start after COVID hit our house.
So are you living almost one day at a time with your daughter, maybe every day, trial and error, diet, toxins around the house and so forth to see what might work? That's kind of what I'm processing what you're saying.
Spot on. We've tried so many different things, and I did write a book, and what I didn't include in there was what didn't work, because I could write a 20 series book on like what doesn't work. But I'll tell you, I've been amazed. Like I had to really reprogram my thinking too on what could work. We looked at everything, and we really wanted to go the holistic route. Like we do believe your body is meant to heal itself. And one of the things my wife had brought up to me early on was the concept of grounding or earthing, that the ground has natural energy in it,
right,
and can help your body heal. And I thought it sounded ridiculous at first. I ended up reading a book on it. I was like, okay, this does make sense. And we bought her a grounding mat on Amazon. It was like $50. You put it on the mattress, plug it into the wall, and it's the same as like walking outside barefoot. I'll never forget the first night we put it on her bed, she slept 6 hours straight. And that was after a long time of no sleep. And what was more amazing, that 6 hours of sleep continued. It did not fix all of her sleep issues. She still had a hard time falling asleep, but once we got her to sleep, we were getting at least 6 hours of sleep every night. So I really had to change my perception on like, what do I think is a valid treatment for my daughter, and really just open my mind up to kind of a more holistic or natural healing. But it's been trial and error, definitely.
Are there any biological tests that you know of that could give you any, I guess I'm asking and any substantive evidence of what's happening inside her body that can give you a more focused approach on the holistic avenues to take? I'm not sure how to word my question, Paul.
No, I understand what you're saying, and that's where I think autism is very frustrating for a lot of parents because we've done testing, like she has mold in her body, so then you buy, the supplements to get mold out, but then you don't see any changes. And my biggest concern, and this is so I have a lot of issues with Western medicine, and I've seen it fail my son, and my mom was schizophrenic, and I saw it fail her as well. On the natural holistic side, my biggest criticism would be the amount of supplements that some push on kids. My daughter is non-speaking, nonverbal, and we can't just give her a bunch of supplements. She can't communicate what it's doing to her body.
Mm-hmm.
So we have done a lot of testing, and like, yeah, we get supplements for mold. We give it to her. We don't see any real change there. So it's literally trial and error, and we haven't seemed to find. There's a lot of opinions on autism. There are parents who have reversed it, but it seems to be very different in every single case of what they did to reverse it.
We have learned through others that no two people, no two neurodiverse autistic people are the same. Every person is entirely different. They're very unique, is what we are learning. Is that a fairly accurate statement?
It definitely is. There's some similarities, like especially with like the profounder or level 3. Like non-speaking is very similar symptom, but I think maybe what's causing it or what caused it could be very different. I mentioned we've met people who have never given their kids a shot who have autism, right? So clearly something like, even whether it contributed to my daughter or not, in other cases it couldn't have contributed to their kid because they never got one. It's very frustrating for parents, to be honest, because your child is sick, something's not functioning in their body correctly, and it's really hard to pinpoint how do I help them.
How do you communicate with your daughter? She's nonverbal, but do you feel you can very accurately communicate with her?
I do. She does a really good job understanding. Just like any other 6-year-old, she doesn't always listen. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty common, but she does do a really good job understanding what we say to her. And then we've been also working with her on using a spelling board, so letters that you can point to communicate. And it's been amazing to see her be able to spell words that a lot of my other kids could never spell at 6 years old. So it just shows, like, she's really smart in a different way. um, we did have a talker, which is an iPad, but we decided we got rid of screens for her about maybe a year ago, because we just felt they contributed to her meltdowns, and it did correct a lot of the issues we saw with meltdowns. So we do try to avoid screens, but I know for others that an iPad is also can be very helpful because they have like an app where you can use it to communicate.
Now, I want to ask you about intelligence because we too have learned some neurodiverse children, in fact, maybe all of them, are extremely intelligent, maybe have a photogenic memory and so forth, in a maybe a very narrow path of what they're um, designed for, so to speak. And again, I want to be very careful with my wording because I think there's a place for every one of these neurodiverse people, but it's a matter of us in those who are employers to be willing to work with and adapt to those who are neurodiverse. But I'm going to ask you to project, Paul. Can you foresee your daughter being employable at some point in her life?
I can, and like you had mentioned, I think they all have gifts and they're all smart in different ways. And I think it does need to start with employers maybe making accommodations up front to support the individual. Again, autism's hard because it's a spectrum, right? So you hire two autistic people, there's the needs they have could be very different. But I think as a company you would benefit long term because just seeing, again, what my daughter can process and understand, and do. You build something around her strengths. And I feel that way with anyone on the spectrum. If you build something around their strengths, they would be highly successful in any field of work. And you do see it. I mean, there's people on the spectrum that are now college professors, and it's finding that right niche, that really lets them maximize what they're strong at.
Oh, we are right on target with you.
And I think finding that sweet spot is hard.
Yes.
Because they don't even know what they really like. Now our granddaughter's beginning to show culinary and things like that. But it's amazing. I can go someplace and we're talking about something, and I think she's off thinking about something else, and yet she can come home and talk about it. And I'm going, oh my goodness. So they have the ability to take in everything around them.
I see it with my daughter. Just today, my wife was doing a spelling lesson with her, and she's making sounds, she's tapping on things, not looking, and then they go to spell the words, and she's spelling the words and knows what was going on. And it's amazing, because if I was sitting there making sounds, moving around, I'd have no idea what anyone was talking about around me.
Right.
I want to take a very brief moment to tell you about myself, the Cooper Culture, a certified veteran-owned small business. I am a retired lieutenant colonel serving the Air Force for 22 years as an F-4 pilot, commander. I have 300 combat missions. I specialize in executive leadership training, team building, and workplace culture, where we help businesses to develop a culture of loyalty, trust, and by developing personality traits and personal strengths, we can help identify those traits that support the company's objectives. We do this through half-day and all-day training shops. I'm also a public speaker, where I welcome the opportunity to speak with your group to help you develop your team to the point where people are loyal and they know exactly how they fit in the organization and contribute to your strategic objectives. Through that, you will have a very profitable company and a psychologically safe space where people know they can freely discuss everything about the company themselves, and we are always working together to progress. Contact me at ron@thecooperculture.com. Our website is thecooperculture.com. Look forward to the opportunity to speak with your group, work with your group, to take your group to the next level, to where we soar together. Let's work together.
Now, would we be assuming correctly, Paul, that you are homeschooling your daughter?
We are. We did start in public school for preschool, and we had decided we obviously didn't agree with the curriculum because their goals didn't align with ours. So their goals would be things like playing with a doll the right way. My wife and I, we don't care how she plays with a doll. That's not a goal of ours. Our goal is for her to be speaking and potty trained, and just not get overwhelmed when she's going out in public, and just be able to function where, her feeling comfortable wherever she goes. So we did start homeschooling this year.
And I'll tell you that seems to be a trend from Marty's and my perspective, that we parents, grandparents, those of us who are, let's say, biologically or otherwise connected with being a caretaker in some form, that capacity, we do whatever we need to do to help learn, help identify with, and so forth. It is our perception. I have no intention of denigrating the school system, but they are not nearly as adept, maybe don't have the reason to care as much as we do. Therefore, we are totally immersed with those who are neurodiverse, whereas those in the school system maybe are doing what they're doing more so as a job, which totally different aspect of the heart. That's my perception. And again, Paul, for your listeners, I want to do what I can to try to make certain I'm not here to denigrate anybody. It's just I'm verbalizing an observation.
I would agree. And, my stance on homeschooling changed a lot. Like, we live in an area where the public schools are academically strong. and maybe homeschooling isn't for every child, but for our daughter it's the best. And as my perception has changed over time, like even for some of my other kids, I'm not sure being in a school all day is the right thing for them. My 7th grade son goes to a school where there's limited windows, so he's inside all day, no time outside. Like that's just, I don't think it's a good idea for a 7th grade boy to be inside of a school all day, not being able to run around with friends at all, not getting any physical activity, no sunlight. Like I don't think we were meant to be, inside of a room for 7 hours a day. So my perceptions change a lot over time, but
Oh, yes. Yeah, we totally agree. We're on board with you there. Now, is your daughter somewhat necessarily isolated with their homeschooling and being nonverbal and so forth, or is she able to associate with other friends even though she can't communicate well, verbally?
yeah, I think having the 7 siblings helps a ton. And they always will have friends over, so she's around them. Ironically, one of the main reasons we actually didn't think school was right for her, they would pull her out of class to do therapy. And we do our own therapy. We go see specialists. And our main reason for sending her there was to have her in the classroom around other kids. So that was another issue for us, the fact that she would get pulled out to go to therapy. But she does do a lot of therapies still. So she'll go there. And I mean, there's always probably an opportunity for her to see more kids that maybe are like her to interact with. But I think just with the 7 siblings and their friends over, she gets a lot of time to interact. And like I've seen more of when at my older kids' sporting events, like if a kid comes up to her, like she will interact with them. She can't talk to them, but like she's not running from them or screaming. And so that's been encouraging to see as well.
I'm going to guess, Paul, your children are compassionately and appropriately adaptive to your daughter. And where I'm going with this is I'm going to believe your children don't believe she's permanently the way she is now. She'll continue to develop, grow, and so forth. But I'm going to guess, compassionately, empathetically encourage your daughter to, yep, the best is yet to come. That's what I'm guessing, Paul, and certainly correct me if I'm not expressing that correctly.
Spot on. I mean, she lights up a room. Like they love her so much, and it is different than the way they interact with others, but it's made them, I think, more caring for other people too. We had found out our 4th grade daughter, we got a note from the school that she was actually purposely becoming friends with kids with special needs in younger grades. So when you hear something like that as a parent, it's just, I mean, it feels so good to see that it's not only impacted how they are at home, but like they're taking that out and doing that in the world, and just caring on other kids and wanting to make them feel included.
I don't know for sure, but my thought is the more your daughter sees your other children and what they can do, you wonder if she's thinking something like, I'd like to do that, or maybe that would encourage her to do that. I don't know. I don't know the autistic mind that well.
Yeah, they definitely, like, she'll try to copy them on things. And I mean, there was a period of time where we didn't even know if she'd be able to jump on a trampoline, and now she does it all the time. So like that's been the other thing that's important for me, is like really celebrate the small wins, because if you're only looking for big wins, you're going to have a miserable life and you're going to be upset all the time. So I've really tried to, like, okay, she used to stand on the trampoline and not jump, and now she'll go out there and jump with all of them and not get upset. There's no meltdowns. Like those are the things that you just have to celebrate and be excited about.
Do you and your wife, maybe your parents, your children's grandparents, feel isolated at any time? Different? Have other people kind of made you feel that way because you are parents of 2 autistic children?
Not as much anymore, I think. I mean, we do get, as she gets older, it's obviously more noticeable, and we worry, like we see her as very cute, right? She's our daughter, and she's beautiful, she's cute. And other people have said, oh, she's so cute, but like, when kids get older, they might not be seen as cute anymore. I would never say we felt isolated. There's been times where we've had interactions where it's like kind of it makes me afraid for my daughter's future. Like one example, we do walks all the time around our neighborhood, and she likes running up and down. She liked running up and down this one person's hill in their yard. They came out to my wife and said, "Can you keep her off our yard?" My wife said, "I'm trying. She's autistic." And they said, "Just keep her off our yard." And like that crushes you as a parent. And then that just made me worry, like when she's older, like what would happen if she was 15 and did that? Like could be a very, could be a much worse situation. So that's probably the most extreme thing we've had. But I think generally people have been understanding, and you also see it a lot more. Like I see, even when she was in school, so many kids had talkers, and like, when I was growing up, I never knew anyone who was on the spectrum. And to see, in our classroom with 5 kids that are also on the spectrum, like the prevalence of it is crazy now.
In that context, Paul, Marty and I are observing the same type thing. I'm going to ask a question maybe in a rhetorical way, but you may know factually. Are we experiencing a greater percentage of neurodiverse children or is it just that we're able to identify them better now? Because I'm just wondering, are we victimizing ourselves from what we eat that's causing this, or what is the cause and effect, if there is one? That's a lot of what I'm trying to think through.
I do believe that we're being poisoned across the board. You look at water, you look at fluoride, proven to lower IQ. You look at just the number of shots kids are getting now, it's significantly more than we were ever getting before. You look at the food, the ingredients you can't pronounce, they're chemicals, they don't expire. God made food for us to eat, and we're letting scientists develop our own, food for us now. I think it's just that collection of everything adding up over time, not being outside, not getting sunlight. I think it's all contributing to a real rise in autism. I don't think they're just better at diagnosing it now.
Wow.
I wonder how much COVID has been a contributor to this.
I do too, honestly, because for us, like, again, it may not have been the main cause, but we firmly believe it's what triggered her to go full blown, have full blown autism. And I'm wondering, and just you think about isolation, like all of those things can really add up and add on. She had never been out, with our younger kids, we would go out to restaurants and stuff. And like that was 2 years, because she was born March 2020, right in the peak of it. That was like 2 years of not really going anywhere, more in isolation. So you do wonder, not only having COVID, but just the way the world was that time, like how much of an impact did that have on kids?
Paul, you have identified or you've documented your findings and so forth through your daughter and son in a book. Am I correct on that?
Yes. Yeah. I really wanted to share where we implemented things and saw immediate impact. Not questionable at all. Like we did this and then saw this, because I wanted a book that I wish I would have had when I first got the diagnosis.
And what is the title of your book, and how could our listeners get a copy?
Sure. The title might be a little controversial, but it's Autism Sucks, Finding Hope in the Chaos. And, I wanted to be honest about the journey. As I was writing it, what I realized is that like, there's been awful things that, for parents that are going through it, it's a financial burden, an emotional burden, a mental burden, but there's good things that have come out of it for me and my family. So I did want to encourage people as well, which kind of drove the title, but it's available on Amazon. And I also have a website, autismsucks.org, where I have the book and then just information about me and my family.
Well, and I can identify with your title and the website and so forth. Yep, it's devastating when you know you're there. It's you're not going to reverse it just by wishing it. But so now that you're quote deep into it, how do you deal with it, and how do you make the very best of the situation that you're in? That's a lot of, and I don't want to suppose I've summarized accurately what's in the book, but that's kind of what I'm reading into what your title is.
Yes. Yeah. And really celebrate the wins, right? Celebrate the small things and track them, write them down. So when you're having a bad day, you can go back and kind of remember the journey you've been on, and that she didn't sleep, that she wouldn't walk around the block without being carried, or she wouldn't jump on the trampoline. You just those things that you did see progress in. So you're reminded, like, we are moving forward. And it's not like a straight line up, right? It might be some hills along the way, but your ultimate goal is you still have another day to work towards it, right? Because you're alive and breathing. So you have to keep that hope.
Paul, as we bring this in for a landing, I just choose to believe you're on a great life journey, and probably not one you would have chosen, but yet you're making the very best of it. Our listeners would be very interested in following you and your daughter through her life experience. And at some point, we just choose to believe, yep, you're going to there's going to be a big win at some point in this. And yes, celebrate the small wins, but at some point, because of what I'm perceiving, your perseverance, you're going to experience a big victory in this. And a lot of people will learn from this. Marty and I are wholehearted advocates of the holistic approach as we learn from people like you through your experience. But Paul, thank you so much for telling us about your life experiences and passing this on. You can bring a lot of hope to a lot of us.
Thank you for having me on. This was great.
Paul, thank you so much. We will be back with you to follow your progress with your daughter and your son and so forth. We just believe that there's a great story that's yet to be told.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate having the opportunity to share our and our guests' life experiences with you.
The Cooper culture advances organizations to achieve and sustain high retention rates, connected communication, and trust through personality insights and principled leadership. You can contact us at our website, thecooperculture.com, and you can contact us directly at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, at thecooperculture.com. We work with you to help assess aspects of your culture to advance the environment and people to their best performance. We do that through our staff of certified personal performance coaches, leadership trainers, keynote speakers, and DISC personality behavior experts. You can book a speaking engagement directly through our website by contacting us at ron@thecooperculture.com. We look forward to sharing our life experiences with you, some of which are profound, some of which are pretty funny. Some of those life experiences are ones we'll never do that again because we've been through stuff. We truly look forward to working with you, speaking with you, helping advance you in any way that we can.
You can never have too many tools. Shop DeWalt deals at Lowe's. Get a free Select DeWalt 20-volt max power tool when you buy a Select 20-volt max 5-amp-hour battery kit. Plus, get a free additional DeWalt 20-volt max 8-amp-hour battery when you buy a DeWalt 10-inch 20-volt max dual-bevel compounded miter saw. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 6/24 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.